Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. As is typical, I usually give a little preview of what you can expect in this week's video. We just finished Christmas, so this week is actually going to be a pretty chill week compared to the past few vlogs. There's going to be a good amount of traveling. I'm currently in Arkansas visiting my dad, but I live around Chicago, so I will be traveling back to Chicago this week. So there will be lots of traveling, lots of reading because of that, mainly audiobooks, and I think that's really it. So it's gonna be pretty chill, and we'll do some goal setting for this next year, and let's just see where the week takes us. Okay, so I didn't film pretty much at all yesterday. Yesterday was Christmas. Well, I filmed a book haul, but I didn't film anything for the vlog, so my last vlog ended very abruptly. But today is Monday the 26th. My dad and I drove to, I think it was Dangerfield, Texas, I think, so that my sibling could be picked up by their mom so that they could spend, the next week with their mom. So it's just me and dad for a couple days until I go back to Chicago. So we spent pretty much all day in a car. We listened to something fresh because we're going to plan and record our first episode of our podcast tomorrow. So I have to remember to put that I reread something fresh because I think that'll be 60 books for the year. So I'm planning on actually making my reading goal for next year. I'm going to bump it up to 75. This year my goal was 25 because I didn't, when I first said it, I think I said it last January, but I hadn't made like a decision to start really reading again. I was just sort of like picking up books at random, and I was part of my family book club, so I figured 25 was ambitious. But then May hit, and then I was just like, you know what? I'm not happy in like my work life, and reading provides a distraction. So I'm gonna go ahead and just read a lot. And I did. I really did. So I don't think that I will hit 75. I definitely won't hit 75 this year. I like how I'm like trying to like hedge my bet. I'm like, I don't think I will. I definitely won't. I know myself, and there's less than a week left of this year, so 75 will be next year. Anyway, so I have to make sure to put something fresh as a reread on my story graph, so I'm at 60 books this year. But I also started reading the Annotated Christmas Carol, and I'm about halfway. Technically I started it yesterday after we like opened presents and did the whole Christmas thing. But I was reading the introduction because normally I do read the introduction to books because I think it's interesting, it gives you more information. And then I realized that the introduction in the Annotated Christmas Carol is about 65 pages long. And that just seemed like a lot when I just wanted to read the actual Christmas Carol. And I've discovered, because I did read about like 20 pages of that introduction, and I've discovered, because I've now moved on to the actual story and I skipped the rest of the introduction, that a lot of what I had read in the introduction is also in the footnotes and the annotations in the story. So I'm glad I made a decision to just skip ahead. But I read the first two parts of A Christmas Carol, so right now I'm at the Ghost of Christmas Present. Yes. So I'm hoping I will be able to finish it tomorrow. It's really interesting. I like all the background information. I am learning a lot about Dickens that I didn't know about before. I've only read 2 Dickens works. He's another classics author that like I'm really gonna have to read more of. I'm pretty sure too. I've read A Christmas Carol before. And I read David Copperfield, and I don't think I read anything else. So if any of my viewers has read Charles Dickens and you have a favorite that isn't one of those two, like, throw it at me. I will probably read it. I'm very susceptible to people's suggestions, so if you want me to read it, I probably will. I don't mind Dickens. He's a little wordy, but so am I, in case you haven't been able to tell by my 30 to 35 minute vlogs. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything else. I just didn't read a ton. Like I read I read the introduction yesterday, which didn't count on my Storygraph. That was the other thing. If it had counted when I was tracking my progress on Storygraph, then I probably would have kept going. But in Storygraph, you can only put numbers when you're tracking progress. And introductions usually don't have page numbers. They have page letters, usually Roman numerals, which, nope, doesn't work on Storygraph, so that's why I skipped. Anyway, so yeah, I read Christmas Story. I think other than that, other than, A Christmas Carol and Something Fresh, which I'm not going to deny is progress, and I have a 7-hour drive to to thank for it, for being able to count that as a reread. I've just been planning the trip that my dad got us in March, which I did not tell you guys about. I filmed a whole video about the books I got for Christmas, and I didn't tell you about what my big present was. So if you watch my pack with me, I talk about how we have a lot of like smaller gifts. Like I got like 17 books, and I got a lot of gnomes. Like, I just want to show you one because it's like very within reach. Gnome. So that was a majority of my presents, is books and gnomes. But we get usually one like big present that's more expensive. And for mine, my dad booked us a trip for 4 days to New York City, and every night we are going to a Broadway show. Well, the last night we're going to an off-Broadway show. And I think Wednesday we're going to 2 shows. So it's going to be very busy, and so we've been making plans of like, what are the other things we want to do in New York, because the shows start at 7. Wednesday we have a matinee at 2, and then another show at 7. So we have pretty much all of Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday in New York City, and so we need to plan what we're going to do there. So anyway, so that's mainly what I've been working on, as well as talking about like what we're going to do for the podcast. We came up with a name for it today, which I think is super fun. And so yeah, that's what we've been doing. I'm hoping I'll finish A Christmas Carol tomorrow. And then I don't know, because I only brought holiday books with me, so if I read anything else, I mean, I do have The Leather Couch as an ebook, so I could read that. But I really try not to do work stuff when I'm not working. Because I don't know if you... Anyway. So if I read a book and, like, I'm looking over at the stack of books... Ignore my water bottles. So if I read a book, it's not going to be one of the ones that's on my list, and my list is so long, but isn't it better to just have another book read? I don't know. I'm probably just going to read one of the books that I have here instead of like waiting until I get home on Friday, because that just seems not productive. Because it's obvious by now, right, that like there's no way I'm going to read all 15 books. Like, that's obvious. I don't necessarily need to say that, but I'm admitting that. Anyway, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna do some goal setting, and maybe I'll tell you about that in the morning, or maybe I'll forget, because I do that too. It's late. I've had a long day. I'll talk to you guys later. Hey everyone, I just wanted to give an update real quick. No, I have not finished A Christmas Carol. I was planning on reading that today, but since Christmas and finding out what my big gift was, which is a trip to New York City in March, I've kind of just been planning that and putting together, like, what do I want to do besides the Broadway shows that we're already going to. So I've been focusing on that, and my dad had ordered a copy of Frommer's Guide to New York City 2023, and so I spent pretty much all day reading that. So I did read today. I read about 400 pages, but it just wasn't A Christmas Carol. So I'm hopefully going to finish A Christmas Carol Saturday, maybe Friday. Friday, I don't think I have a big day at work. Tomorrow I will be driving home the entire way, so it's about 11 hours, so I'm planning on listening to more of The Mirror Empire. I don't think I won't finish it, but I will make a significant dent in it, and I will probably finish it this weekend, if not early next week. So I wanted to give a quick update. I do have to pack still, since I spent pretty much the past 5 hours reading. So I have to pack. I don't have time to say a lot, but expect more driving updates tomorrow. So I'm in the car again. I have listened to maybe like 20 more minutes of The Mirror Empire, and I'm going to continue listening to it while I drive, but I just wanted to make a comment about something that I really appreciate in this story, even though I'm still trying to make sense of the world building and the plot in general. There's two things. So in Dai, which is one of the countries, and the other one is Szechuan, I think. But in Dai, part of their culture is really big on consent, and pretty much anytime one of the characters touches the other one, they ask. And if consent isn't given, then they don't touch. So I really like that. That's not the case in Szechuan. I think that's what the country's name is called. And so there's a character from Szechuan who, touches someone from Dai without their consent, and he gets told off, like, majorly. The other thing that I appreciate is that there are, again, in Dai, which is where like half of the characters are. The other half are, I think, in Szechuan or maybe another country. I don't know. I'm still trying to make sense of it. But in Dai, at least in their language, there are, I want to say, 5 genders, pretty much, or at least 5 sets of pronouns. There's male passive, male active, female passive, female active, and then I forget what they called it. It's only been mentioned once. I want to say it's like undefined or something, which is I think it's like undefined. And so that's just something that I really appreciate. I don't quite know what it means. Just that in Dai, people who use female pronouns tend to be more like politically savvy and more powerful, it seems like, which is really cool. But beyond that, I'm not quite sure what it means. I'm not quite sure if, like, if a character is male, it means that they have, male sex organs, but the passive or active denotes, like, strength, which is kind of the vibe I'm getting, but I'm not positive. Oh, the other thing, one more thing. I'm loving the culture in this world. I'm still trying to make sense of, like I said, the world building and everything, but the culture in Dai is really cool. Polyamory is really big in Dai. Usually there are multiple husbands for one woman, and it's not really explained why, just that, there's there have been a couple male characters, one in particular, Aiko, that is like, I just want to get married to this woman I'm in love with and be one of her husbands and have lots of kids. And I think it's really cute. He's not going to get that. Just from where I am in the story and where it's going, like, he's not going to get that, but it's really cute that he wants it. And so I really like him. So I just wanted to touch on the things that I'm really enjoying about the story. As it makes more sense, I will try to explain more. But right now, like, my two favorites, I would say, are Aiko and Lilia, who is this, like, I think she's a teenager now. I'm going to say, like, 18 or 19. I think she's 18. And Lilia, she's the character you first meet when you read the book. You meet her as, like, I think a 13-year-old, and her village is attacked, and her mom saves her and sends her to this other part of Dai. And since then, Lilia is raised in a temple as a drudge, which is like a servant, after being tested to see if she has any of the, like, talents that call on the stars. And it's revealed that she doesn't, so she's a drudge. But some stuff goes on at the temple, and the Senesi, which is the character from Szechuan, essentially ends up, like, taking her away from the temple and saying that she's actually an Omagista, which is someone who has the gifts to call on Oma, which is the star of destruction that I mentioned last vlog. So that part, like, the magic system makes a lot of sense to me. Like, right now there's a star in power, or that's ascending, that's Pariah, I think, and so, or Para, maybe, because the people who have that star's gifts are called, like, Paragistas, which is apparently, like, a very, like, telekinetic star. So yeah, it's just really interesting. So I'm gonna keep listening, and I'll check in with you guys later. So I'm in line at McDonald's, so I just wanted to film really quickly and just say, like, how nice it is that it is 64 degrees in Missouri, and I'll put the Celsius somewhere on the screen. But it feels so nice after it being so cold last week when I was driving. Other than that, book is good. Learning more about the world. Yeah. We've learned about another gender. Well, another two, technically. So in Szechuan, which I was pronouncing wrong earlier, there are 3 official genders, which is male, female, and Taisan, which is in between. And then one character that we've met, who is just everything, I guess. Depending on the season, they're male, female. I think they, like, alternate between those two. So the storyline is progressing, and I'll talk more about it when I get home. But I just wanted to comment on, like, the gender in this story is really interesting, and that alone might make me continue reading the series. But we'll see. It's really interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about the story yet and, like, the actual plot. It's fairly confusing. I wish that the author would, like, tell just a little bit more, just so I could have more understanding, but it's whatever. So, yeah, those are my thoughts right now. I've listened to about 7 hours now total, so should make a good chunk in it by the time I get home. I'm a little over halfway, so that's what's up. Okay, so I don't remember where I was at. I think I only listened to like another hour since I last checked in, and the book is still good. I will give like as much of a synopsis as I can when I get home, and I can like really focus on that instead of focus on driving. But I will say that there has been a character death, and there's been a fair amount of death in the story so far, but it's just been like side characters. And this is the first death that was from a perspective that I read from, and the death was described. At least I'm assuming that they're dead. I'd be very surprised if the character lives, but I guess I'm talking too soon. But I wanted to sort of pop on because usually character deaths bother me if they're not done for like a reason, or if the reason doesn't like make logical sense. Like, that's one reason that I stopped watching like a lot of TV shows. Like, I stopped watching The Walking Dead because it felt like to me they were just killing off characters willy-nilly and not using it to like move the plot forward, which I think is the only acceptable reason to kill off characters. Like, there are times where like Game of Thrones did that really well, and other times that it didn't. But so the reason I'm sort of bringing it up is because like I feel like this character's death, if they do die, was done for, if not an acceptable reason, a logical reason. Like, the other character that they were with, like, didn't need them anymore. And that other character is fairly heartless, and so if that character wasn't going to serve the purpose that they originally were supposed to, like, yeah, like, it's in the middle of a war. Like, why are you gonna drag someone around that you don't really know? And even if there was like sort of a begrudging fondness, like, they weren't serving a purpose anymore, so there wasn't a reason. I don't know, maybe that's heartless, I don't know, but to me it made sense, and so I'm not as bothered at it as I have been with like Game of Thrones or Walking Dead, in other shows usually, but books too, but not, it doesn't happen as much in books, I feel, where characters are just killed. And like, while I recognize that does show a certain amount of like realism and the, you know, heartbreak of war and all that sort of stuff, I do understand that. It just, I don't read a lot of like dark fantasy or like grim dark books. Like, I like my books to have a happy ending, and if not a happy ending, then a hopeful ending. And that's why I love like Lord of the Rings so much. Like, yes, there's pain and there's heartbreak and there's death and there's grief, but there's also hope. At the end of every single book, there is hope and resolution. And I'm getting nervous that won't be the case in this book, especially because it is a trilogy. And yeah, I don't know. I'm getting a little nervous, but I'm not even halfway, so we'll see where it goes. I am home. I am very tired. I pretty much drove for about 12 hours with like, you know, stops, get gas and food and stuff, but still 12 hours in a car. I'm not even going to try to explain all of the Mirror Empire. I will try to do that tomorrow at some point. Still good. The character that I thought died did not. However, they almost immediately ended up in another predicament where they could be dead. But I doubt that they are. So I'll be interested to see what happens there. I would say that there aren't any characters that I, like, dislike. The one that I said was, like, my male favorite, Akio, he's kind of grating on me a little bit just because I feel like his personality has changed, but I understand why. I also feel like he's a little oblivious and naive, which I'm hoping will change, considering, like, this story is very political, which is not necessarily my favorite. However, just due to the writing style, I'm enjoying the politics more than I'm enjoying any action scenes that happen. And I don't know if that's just because I'm listening to it on audio, and so it's a little easier for me to zone out during those. And if I was reading the actual novel, I wonder if it would be different. But there aren't that many action scenes, quite honestly, which I'm okay with. So yeah, it's still really good. We'll see where it ends up. So I'm in immediate care. I haven't mentioned it, but I've been having some, like, dizzy spells. Usually when I'm sitting for a while and I, like, turn my head. And I thought maybe it was, like, vertigo or something, but it was happening a lot today, so I went to immediate care after work, and the doctor said that it's pretty much, like, inflammation in my inner ear, so it's, like, throwing off my balance and stuff like that. So he said it's not serious, that it could last weeks, and they're giving me a referral for if it, takes longer than that. But so I haven't read much except, like, this morning it was until, like, another hour and a half of The Mirror Empire. I think tonight I'm just gonna go home, try to relax, eat because I'm starving, and just, like, hang out with my husband because I haven't really spent time with him in about a week since I've been gone. So yep, that's it.
Haven't done this before. Cheers!
So I wanted to film this before I forgot because it occurred to me as I was driving home from work that I didn't record anything last night. I don't know if you can tell, we went over to a friend's house for New Year's Eve and we all got a little bit tipsy. My friend Sam let off a confetti bomb pretty much in my face, so I spent the last, like, hour and a half just completely covered with glitter and confetti, and there was confetti everywhere when I got home later and was able to change into pajamas, so that was fun. But it really was a really fun night. Before all that really started, we had gone over to this friend's house for pretty much, like, the Bulls game and then New Year's Eve. And so while the Bulls game was happening, I finished reading the Annotated Christmas Carol. I gave it 4 stars because the Christmas Carol is a classic. It's amazing, and it, it's actually a really quick read. What took me so long was actually all the annotations, and some of them I just felt like weren't necessarily necessary. And some of them were, like, I don't know. The annotations were interesting, but some of them didn't need to be there. And then, like, the introduction was, like, 60 pages, and I don't feel like that needed to be the case, especially because there's also an appendix at the end that had a lot of the same, like, biographical information about Charles Dickens that was in the introduction as well as the annotations. And also in the appendix, which I did not read, was the Christmas Carol written in 4 parts instead of 5. So I didn't read that part, so I'm still counting as I read it. I read the Christmas Carol with the annotations, and that's the thing that matters. So I finished the year out with 62 books, and I've listened to another like an hour and 40 minutes of The Mirror Empire. I still have another, like, 4 hours left, which is more than I thought I had, but it's still good. I don't know. I'm at 78%, and I just don't know if it's gonna be wrapped up enough for me to want to continue. Like, I don't like series that end on such like an obvious cliffhanger with like no resolution to the plot, so you have to continue reading. Like, that makes me like almost like want to rebel and just be like, no, F you, you didn't give me any resolution, I'm not going to keep reading. And so I'm worried that's going to happen, but I'm still enjoying it for the most part. I'm still really interested in what happens. I did look at the content warnings, which like I probably should have done that before I started reading it. And there is, according to Storygraph, there is content warnings for sexual assault, which makes me nervous, especially because on Storygraph it says that it's graphic, which, like, I can deal with sexual assault in novels. It's not my favorite. I feel like it's a really overused trope, and it's oftentimes handled really poorly. So I'm nervous, but we'll see. That will definitely be another thing that impacts how I feel about continuing the series. But that's about it. I have to pick up some stuff. I'm outside of a sporting goods store to get like a piece of exercise equipment because I have New Year's resolutions and I'm gonna really try to stick to it this year. So I need like a stair stepper thing. But I just wanted to film that before I forgot. So I'll check in with you guys later. Hey everyone. I have not read any more since my last update. I've been cooking and trying to eat healthier, and I've been like cleaning a little bit, so I haven't really read. Well, I haven't. I don't need to put a qualifier. Like, I haven't really read. I haven't read at all since my last update. So it's 8:30 on Sunday now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and end this vlog, and I should finish the Mirror Empire probably tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then like Tuesday morning. I'll go ahead and like knock it out because I have like 4.5 hours left. So yeah, I could probably finish it Tuesday. I do need to start reading Crime and Punishment because each week is a different like section of the book for the buddy read, so I need to get that done. So I'll probably, quite honestly, I'll probably listen to an audiobook depending on how much I like the narrator and probably do it that way. We'll see. Yeah, I think that's it. So thank you for coming along with me. Let me know if you had any thoughts or if you've read the books that I read this week and you want to talk about them. Just leave me a comment, like the video, subscribe. That'd be great. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.